No one could have seen this coming, not even Teyana herself. When she first walked into that courtroom, holding back tears, her head low but her spirit holding on by a thread, she believed the people sitting beside her, her legal team, were going to fight for her. That they were her armor, her shield, the ones who were supposed to carry her truth into a room full of eyes that didn't know the pain she was walking in with. But what she didn't know was that the very team she trusted, the ones she paid, the ones who nodded and said, "We got you," were about to walk away. Not because they lost, not because they weren't getting paid, but because, according to their own words, this case is too personal. It all started quietly.
No headlines, no blogs.
Just whispers behind court doors. At first, everything was by the book. Teyana had hired what people said was one of the sharpest legal teams in the game. Clean reputation, hard-hitting, known for keeping things airtight. She knew she needed that kind of power because what she was up against wasn't just a custody case. It wasn't just about money or name rights or public image. It was about emotional abuse, about betrayal, about feeling like your whole life is being ripped from under you, piece by piece, in front of the world. Aaron had taken so much already. Her peace, her trust, the future she thought they were building, and now he was trying to twist the narrative in court, make her look unstable, bitter, even unfit. So she came prepared, or at least she thought she did. At first, the legal team showed up strong. Documents were filed. Motions were made. There were moments in the courtroom where Teyana looked over at her attorneys and thought, okay, maybe this is the beginning of my win. But then things started to shift. Not publicly at first, but behind the scenes. Meetings felt colder. Calls stopped being returned on time. Even simple updates about the case were delayed. It was subtle, but Teyana felt it. The energy had changed. And it wasn't just about the legal pressure anymore. What no one on the outside knew was that Aaron's legal team had pulled a dangerous move. They'd submitted a sealed folder, one that included private messages, old diary entries, and voice recordings that, according to sources, were never supposed to leave Teyana's home. The documents painted a very raw, very emotional picture of a woman breaking. It wasn't fake, it was just unfiltered. Pain that wasn't meant for the public to see. But now it was part of the case. And somehow, those files made their way to the other side. Teyana was blindsided. The recordings weren't just damning, they were humiliating. Not because she did anything wrong, but because they captured her at her weakest. Crying in the middle of the night, whispering fears about being abandoned, writing about moments where she felt unloved, unseen, even by her own family. That kind of vulnerability wasn't meant to be used as evidence. It was meant to be healed from. But now, lawyers were dissecting it, analyzing it, twisting it into something it wasn't. That was the first time she saw the hesitation in her legal team's eyes. They didn't say it outright, but the way they looked at her changed. Like they weren't sure anymore. Like they were afraid of how deep this case could go. And then the second blow came, when a member of her team was accused of having a personal connection to someone from Aaron's side. The connection was vague but emotional.
Some said it was a family tie.
Others hinted it was romantic. But either way, it created conflict. And once trust cracks inside a legal team, it collapses fast. 1 week before a major court date, the silence hit hard. Teyana tried to schedule a meeting with her team. No one confirmed. She followed up again. Nothing. Then, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, while holding her baby in one arm and a court document in the other, she received a formal email. One line stood out like a knife. Due to the sensitive and personal nature of this case, we will be withdrawing as your representation, effective immediately. She read it twice, then a third time. She sat down, stunned. Not angry at first, just numb. Because how do you even respond when the people who are supposed to fight for you decide you're too much? That your story is too messy? That your trauma makes them uncomfortable? The news spread fast. Court insiders leaked the information to a small blog, and from there, it spiraled. Fans were confused. Some thought maybe Teyana had fired them. Others assumed it was money-related. But when a close source posted that line, "This case is too personal," people started asking real questions. What was so personal that an entire team would walk away from a high-profile client? Then came the rumors that one of the lawyers had an emotional breakdown during prep, that another threatened to expose something she found in the case files, that Aaron's side had submitted a counterclaim so twisted it rattled everyone involved. One person said, "This stopped being a case a long time ago. It's war now, and no lawyer wants to be in the crossfire." Public reaction was immediate. Some blamed the lawyers, said they were unprofessional for walking out mid-fight. Others blamed Teyana, said maybe she wasn't telling the full truth. But those closest to her knew this wasn't about guilt or innocence. This was about betrayal, not just from a partner, but from a system that punishes women for bleeding too loudly. Teyana didn't speak right away. She didn't release a statement or tweet her rage. But a few hours later, she posted one thing to her IG story. A black background, white text, no tags. It said, "Never thought loyalty would be the thing I had to pay for." That was it. No follow-up.
No explanation.
But fans knew what she meant. And that post hit millions like a punch to the gut. Because the truth is, this wasn't just about law. It was about trust. About how even when you do things right, when you follow the rules, when you seek justice the right way, you can still get abandoned, still get used, still get played. The court hearing was pushed back. Without legal representation, Teyana had to scramble to find a new team fast. But hiring a new lawyer isn't like finding a new hairstylist. Especially not when your case is already covered in leaks, bad press, and personal trauma. Every new call came with caution. Every new face brought more doubt. And through it all, she had to stay strong. Not just for the court, but for her child. Aaron's side wasted no time. They saw the delay in proceedings not as a setback, but as an opportunity. A chance to regroup, re-strategize, and push harder. Within days, they filed a series of new motions, each more calculated than the last. Temporary custody adjustments were requested, aiming to chip away at Teyana's access and influence. More disturbingly, they hinted at questioning her mental stability, leveraging the very recordings that were never meant to surface in court. These private moments, meant to remain confidential, were now weaponized against her in ways no one had anticipated. It was a brutal tactic, one designed to destabilize her emotionally and legally. At the same time, the online battlefield grew more chaotic. Anonymous Twitter accounts began posting long, conspiratorial threads claiming inside knowledge of Teyana's case files. They dropped screenshots, unverified, contextless, and insinuations that painted her in a negative light. No proof, no credible sources, just a flood of innuendo that spread quickly. The court of public opinion, always eager for drama, was quick to react. Suddenly, conversations shifted from legal facts to personal attacks. People were taking sides like never before, and the scale was tipping against Teyana. The internet, as it often does, became a hostile place, especially for a woman navigating public scrutiny and emotional pain. Some branded her as unstable, others as overly candid to a fault. But amidst the noise, there was a growing chorus of voices who refused to let her stand alone. Supporters emerged quietly but firmly, reminding the world that no one deserves to be vilified during such a vulnerable time. In response, Teyana made a decisive change. She formed a new legal team, this time operating under the radar. No flashy announcements, no public statements. Everything was handled with precision and discretion. The focus was clear: protection. Protection of her rights, her child, and her reputation. Her new team wasn't interested in cleaning up headlines or battling on social media. They aimed to rebuild her case from the ground up, brick by brick, focusing on what truly mattered. The legal fight was no longer just about drama. It was about safeguarding her future. Still, the scars remained. Despite all the legal battles, the filings, the court dates, and the public scrutiny, Teyana felt the weight of losses that no courtroom could measure. She had lost more than just a legal team. She had lost the illusion that loyalty is something you can buy, that paying people enough guarantees their fight will be fierce on your behalf. She had lost the belief that the truth always finds a way to win, no matter the odds. And perhaps the hardest loss of all was the comfort that comes from trusting in the system, believing that justice, in its purest form, is fair and impartial. Because this case wasn't just about paperwork or courtroom battles. It was a slow, painful unraveling of a woman's dignity, played out not behind closed doors, but on the world stage. Every whispered rumor, every leaked document, every anonymous accusation chipped away at her spirit. The emotional toll was immense. Being stripped down like that, vulnerable and exposed, in front of millions who watched with judgmental eyes, it was a kind of public dissection no one should endure. And sometimes, even professionals, lawyers, advocates, friends, find themselves overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. They falter. They walk away. Weeks after the chaos, when the noise finally dulled, Teyana shared something different with the world. A simple video. No dramatic words, no tearful confessions, just music softly playing in the background. She sat alone in a quiet studio, cross-legged, her face bare of makeup or artifice, looking directly into the camera with eyes that carried both pain and resolve. The caption was a quiet but powerful statement. "I'm still standing. And that's enough." Maybe that's the real victory here. That even when those paid to protect her abandoned the fight, she didn't. She kept showing up. For herself, for her child, and for the truth she carried deep inside. Stripped of legal jargon, of contracts and courtrooms, what remains is a woman who simply wanted to be heard, and who was. The court may or may not grant her justice, but the world already saw her.
Raw.
Human, resilient, and above all, still standing.